Hello, and welcome to this presentation on myths and facts about plant-based eating. My goal is not to make you a vegetarian, a vegan, or even plant-based for that matter. It's simply to give you with some good information to separate the myths from the facts and make the best decisions for your health. I'm speaking in a very practical, pragmatic way based on my 30 years experience in academic medicine, plus degrees in obviously medicine, public health, business, and board certification in lifestyle medicine. So, get your facts first. You can then distort them as you please. Famous words from Mark Twain. We're all entitled to our opinions, but we're not entitled to our own facts. The facts are exactly what they are. I'm going to share them with you, and hopefully you'll use them wisely. First myth, a plant-based diet means you're only going to eat plant foods. So you're going to be grazing from the trees like a giraffe or a zebra. Not true. You can eat a variety of things, and you can even eat some animal products. It's not an all or none issue. It's a question of degree. So some people are more plant-based than others, vegans, vegetarians. Some include significant amounts of animal products or dairy. The real tent here, the real word is plant forward. And it also goes under the terms you might hear plant based, plant rich, plant focused, plant predominant. The bottom line being the more you move towards that plant based eating, the better for your health. But it doesn't mean it's an all or none. Flexitarians, for example, do eat significant amounts of meat, sometimes several times a week, but they're heading in the plant based direction. Does that mean that your diet's going to be healthy if you're vegetarian or fully plant based? The answer is absolutely not. There's tremendous amounts of vegan junk food. You could eat Oreos, Coca-Cola, Twinkies, cupcakes, and Doritos every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and be a vegan and be fully plant-based. But your health will be terrible. The issue here is to really eat what are called whole plant-based foods, not just plant-based. And that would mean that you're eating fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds. You're avoiding the refined carbohydrates, white flour, white sugar, refined foods that contain oils, which are not healthy. They're pure calories, even olive oil. And you're going to avoid or minimize the animal products. Some people will eat varying degrees of meat, fish, or dairy, but ideally minimize those. What is the best vegan junk food if you would like to eat vegan junk food? Well, it's a bit of an oxymoron. I think all of these are unhealthy. They contain various amounts of salt, oil, sugar, refined things, a perfect combination for addiction, but not for health. It has to do with the processing. We have ultra processed foods, and that's what all of those are. They're great for promoting obesity, weight gain. If you'd like to raise your glucose levels, your cholesterol, your hypertension, or get metabolic syndrome, eat a lot of ultra processed foods. Metabolic syndrome means you're going to have centripetal obesity, a very fat waist, along with a high glucose, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, etc., high blood pressure, and that leads to heart attacks and strokes and other problems. Now, there's a classification of processing of foods. The least would be the minimally processed or unprocessed. So if you take a potato and cut it up, it's minimally processed. If you shred carrots, they're minimally processed. Once you start removing nutrients, ingredients, they become refined, and that's bad. The ultra processed foods, which are 60% of the standard American diet, I mean, that's an incredible number, are literally chemistry sets in what they contain. All sorts of sugar, sweetened beverages, candy, ice cream, baked goods, pizza, frozen meals, etc. Perhaps my favorite, and maybe you eat these, are the plant-based burgers. Receive tremendous attention as far as substitutes for meat. The problem is they are ultra processed. The protein is highly processed, extracted soy protein, pea protein, And they're doused with lots of oil, particularly coconut oil, which tastes great, but it's loaded with saturated fat. If we look nutritionally at these burgers, not good. Tons of sodium, salt, lots of saturated fat, and calories. As a matter of fact, eating a plain beef burger is probably healthier for you. Less calories, less fat, less saturated fat, and less sodium. If you'd like to improve the planet and go green, there are better ways to do it than eating these burgers. Does this mean it's going to be nutritionally deficient if you eat only plant foods? Are there certain vitamin, minerals, macronutrients that you might lack? The answer is no. This is a complete myth as far as overall nutritional deficiency. The one exception is vitamin B12. That is not found in any plants. It's not found in animals either. The only way it gets into the animals is that they graze on bacteria in the soil. So B12 supplements are a must for full vegetarians or vegans. Vitamin D is optional. If you do get some sunlight, there should be enough, but you can get tested for that. And, it's a misconception that animals have B12. It's by the bacteria in the soil. So even farm raised animals are going to be fully deficient in B12, and you'll need to take supplements. The foods highest in B12 for vegans are often yeast products, nutritional yeast, and some of the plant based milks. So you can check what's in there. Even fake meats, which I would not recommend, are often fortified with B12. Seaweed is a great source, but if you feel you're not getting enough through fortification, then a supplement is strongly advised. I take one myself. I'm a whole food plant based vegan. Another interesting topic has to do with the long chain fatty acids, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, particularly omega 3, which is very important for cell membranes, for your heart, your lungs, your immune system, endocrine function, vision, and overall health. These, like B12, are not found in fish typically, which are the main source. The fish get them from eating algae. It's the algae they eat, just like the sheep and cattle eat the bacteria to get the B12. The fish get their omega 3s from eating algae. For vegans, you can get lots of ALA, alpha linolenic acid, which is a source of long chain fatty acids, through chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp, walnuts. These are great sources. The problem is your body, your liver is not great at converting this into the long chain omega 3s, EPA, DHA, that are found in algae and are really needed for the brain health and cell health otherwise. So it's a bit controversial. Deficiency states are rare, and the research is inconclusive as to whether vegans taking algae supplements are healthier or do better. Cardiovascular disease, for example, is so low in whole food plant-based vegans that adding omega-3 does nothing. Could it help brain health or other things to be determined? This is a personal choice. Plant-based diets are high in carbohydrates. So is that going to give you sugar spikes and make you fat? The answer is no. Up to 70% carbs in some of the whole food plant-based diets. You can see here the DASH diet is a plant-forward diet predominant for hypertension. Mediterranean is very popular, has a bit more fat from the olive oil. Again, oil is extracted. It has absolutely no nutritional value. It just provides calories. Don't use it if you can avoid it. Vegan diets, lots of carbs, but mostly refined. The whole food plant-based diet is the one that can be 70% carbs, but is that bad for you? And the answer is no. It's not going to raise sugar levels. It's not going to make you fat because these are unrefined, unprocessed whole carbs as opposed to the processed ones. So these good carbohydrates in a whole food plant-based diets, sure, you'll get some spike in your glucose and your insulin, but it comes down slowly. In contrast, these highly refined carbs in junk food, they give you a huge spike in your glucose and insulin, and afterwards the glucose plummets and goes low. And do this long enough, you'll get type 2 diabetes and other problems. So these good so-called complex whole carbs are shown here. Whole grain breads, brown rice, quinoa, whole grain pastas, nuts, seeds, oatmeal, fruit, sweet potatoes, vegetables, beans, excellent sources of whole grain carbs. The simple or bad carbs are the ones that are going to make you fat and give you the sugar spikes. There was a recent review in Lancet, top medical journal, of nearly 200 research studies, found that if you consume lots of fiber, and the fiber comes from complex carbs, from grains and beans that have a lot of carbs, you drop markedly your overall death rates, cardiovascular, heart disease death rates from stroke, diabetes, colorectal cancer, and even your body weight will go down, your blood pressure, your cholesterol. And there's a dose response, meaning that if you eat more fiber from more whole grains, you'll do better. And if you just look at whole grains on their own, they also do extremely well. So will you be healthy and fat? And the answer is no. Don't fear the carbs. You're not going to be healthy and fat. Another very recent study looked at overweight adults, and they randomly had them eat for 4 months a high carbohydrate, healthy carb diet, or they let them do whatever they wanted, their previous diet. And those eating lots of carbs lost almost 15 pounds more. Almost 10 pounds of that was fat. Their insulin resistance went down, which is great. It helps prevent type 2 diabetes. Their body mass index, their fat mass, everything went down. And this was proportional to the amount of fiber and whole carbohydrates they ate. So really very clear, healthy, complex carbs, good for you. No reason to fear them. Can you get enough protein though with all these plants? That's a big concern, especially if you're an athlete. Yes, you absolutely can. You don't need that much. So let's say you weigh 120 pounds, 130 pounds, maybe 60 kilograms. All you need is about 40 or 50 grams of protein per day. You can easily get that from nuts, beans, legumes, even whole grains. Mushrooms, potatoes, other things have reasonable amounts of protein. So if you're eating a good whole food plant-based diet, you will include things like lentils, edamame, black beans, almonds, peas, etc. And these not only have protein, they have lots of fiber, which you do not find in animal protein. Animal protein may be very rich in protein to the point that you probably overdose on it in a given day. 3 ounces of chicken or steak, 25 grams of protein. So if you're eating a half pound a day, you're already above what you probably need for the average weight person. You also get lots of saturated fat, no fiber. If you haven't already done so, you may find it fascinating to look at this movie, came out a year ago in 2019, on the Game Changers. This was all about plant-based protein and how ultra top athletes, Olympic level athletes, do great with just plant-based protein sources. Not only are they doing great, they perhaps recover faster because you're cutting out the middleman. What does that mean? Uh, Animals get their protein from eating plants, just like they get their B12, just like the fish get the omegas from algae. They eat these plants, they get the protein from the plants, and even the strongest, biggest animals on the planet, elephants, rhinoceroses, horses, gorillas, they're herbivores. All they eat is plants, and they get more than enough protein. So when we talk about getting our protein from plants, we're eliminating the middleman when it gets to beef and dairy. Do you need these dairy products, though, and calcium to have strong bones and prevent weakening over age, osteoporosis? Again, answer no. It's a complete myth. You get lots of vitamin D and calcium in plant foods. Some of the best sources are the cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, bok choy, kale, greens. Beans and nuts have calcium, and the vitamin D is easier to absorb from these products than from calcium and vitamin D in dairy products. If you really want to improve your bones, forget about dairy, do weight bearing exercises regularly, get some physical activity, do some strength and resistance training. Great review last year, 2020, in New England Journal by Willett, one of the world authorities, looking at all the evidence on dairy. And it does not support the fact that if you eat more, you're going to reduce fractures. And that's why the US Dietary Association in their guidelines push dairy to reduce fractures. As a matter of fact, you will actually increase your risk of prostate cancer, particularly if you drink whole milk as a man. Endometrial cancer as well, maybe less colorectal cancer, but vegetarians, vegans who eat a lot of whole foods and fiber are going to reduce that as well. Now, some of the benefits allegedly of dairy have to do with the comparison. So if you're drinking milk instead of Coca-Cola or other sugar sweetened beverages, you're probably going to see a health benefit. But if instead of milk, you're having a healthy plant protein source, you'll probably see more benefit on the plant side. And interestingly, eating low fat, skim, reduced fat dairy had no benefits over full fat. So for those who are going in the plant forward, plant-based mode, there's lots of alternatives. I prefer almond milk. It's low calorie. There are other things you can look at. Be careful of the sugar content in these. Some of them are fortified with a lot of sugar. I would caution avoiding those. You can get dairy substitutes for cheese. The best ones are made from nuts, cashews, almonds. Be wary of the ones that are loaded with coconut oil and other oils. They're not good for you. You can get non-dairy substitutes for ice cream and for yogurt. Again, look carefully. These have lots of sugar sometimes, so you're going to use them sparingly. The last myth I'd like to dispel has to do with some practical aspects of plant-based eating, that it's going to cost a lot, it's hard, it's boring. Well, you can do this on a budget, and it does not have to be boring. All you need, very inexpensive, for a full healthy meal is a grain, a green, and a bean. And I'll tell you more about that in a few moments. But thinking about this in terms of the various components of a whole food plant-based diet, fruits. Seasonal fruits and vegetables. Seasonal fruits can be inexpensive. They can also be bought frozen or even dried in bulk. Vegetables, seasonal vegetables, again, inexpensive, readily available. If you can't get them or access is a problem, frozen vegetables can be bought in bulk very inexpensively. Whole grains also, brown rice, whole wheat pastas are not expensive when bought in bulk or even as isolated items. The premium over regular pasta is small. Quinoa, oats are terrific grains, very versatile. Legumes, beans, peas, chickpeas, lentils, soy, dried ones are cheap as can be and make a ton and can be cooked and saved. If you want more convenience, get the canned beans. Be wary of the salt content. You can get spreads made from beans, such as hummus, or even pastas that are made from beans, from lentils or black beans or chickpeas. Soy is fantastic, particularly tempeh and edamame are, and the beans themselves are loaded with fiber. Tofu, great too, but not much fiber, lots of protein. Nuts and seeds, especially nut butters, are terrific. Get them without sugar. And again, frozen canned, some convenience foods are necessary and often very inexpensive ways to do this. Canned tomato products I use a lot, but be wary of the salt content. Getting back to that concept of a grain, a green, and a bean, it's often called the Buddha bowl. It's a combination that quickly makes a healthy, nutritious meal. Some combinations here: brown rice and black beans, plus some veggies, quinoa and edamame. Quinoa bought in bulk is not expensive. Farro, a whole grain. You could also use bulgur or whole brown rice or other grains, chickpeas, garbanzos, all healthy grain, green, and bean meals. I personally love to air fry or roast vegetables. And to me, this is a building block for many things. Parchment paper is indispensable because with parchment paper, you lay out your veggies or your potatoes. You need no oil, no seasonings. They go right in the oven or air fryer, and they come out caramelized and delicious. You can do eggplant, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini. Air fry, I find, is much better than roasting. And onions as well, Vidalia's sweet onions. Slice them up and air fry them. They are delicious. These will stay for about a week in the refrigerator, and they can be added to salad, soups, wraps, pasta dishes, seasoned, little balsamic on them. They are versatile and terrific. Spices are terrific for adding zest and flavor, even when you're cooking without oil or added sugar. So, dried spices, particularly during the cooking phase, and you can cook in broth or even in a nonstick pan instead of oil or even water or juice. You can add some fresh herbs after cooking, is the best way to do that. Same thing with spinach, stirred in at the end. Lemon, lime, orange. The juice is terrific. The zest is even better from the peel, gives you a real bang in the taste. I love aged balsamic vinegar. Nutritional yeast for a topping mimics the taste of Parmesan cheese or other cheeses, chopped nuts, seeds, dried fresh berries. The combinations are endless. I also recommend keeping a nice bowl of chopped salads, greens. If you wring out the moisture, this will last for a week, and it's a great base for a bowl where you surround it by some of those veggies and some beans and other things, olives or whatever you like. You can make a great bowl. These chopped salad base can include the lettuce, the endive, radicchio, arugula, whatever you like, cucumbers. I like Persians and Kirby's. They don't have to be peeled. Celery, peppers, fennel, quinoa, brown rice, artichokes, anything you like can go in there. I recommend going to our website at Downstate, SUNY Downstate University, www.downstate.edu/plant-based. You can find a lot of terrific resources, including this guide on eating for health and longevity that gets into a lot of the topics discussed here about proteins and dairy and eating healthy on a budget, the grain, the green, and a bean concept. It's all there with other resources. So that's my whirlwind tour for you through some myths and facts related to plant-based health and eating. Again, I'm not trying to make you a vegan, a vegetarian, or even plant-based. I think you should just have the facts and know them and then make the best decisions for your own health and longevity. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please recommend this presentation to others.